To say that Sea of Thieves is one of my favorite games of all time would be an incredible understatement. Ever since I saw the incredible Pirate's Life expansion trailer last summer, I knew I had to get the game. Finally getting another story with Mr. Gibbs, Davy Jones, and of course, Captain Jack Sparrow made me incredibly excited. I bought the game, and before I even played the expansion, I played the base game. I think it was actually a few months into me owning the game when I actually started playing the Pirate's Life expansion. In all honesty, I became addicted to the base game. I loved sailing around, battling other players, exploring the massive world, finding all different kinds of treasure, battling different world events such as skeleton fleets, krakens, forts, and my favorite of all, Flameheart. And, in the year and a half since I bought the game, there have been a number of changes. We saw the inclusion of undersea temples that belong to sirens, as a further expansion of the Pirate's Life update. We saw the inclusion of new quality of life updates, such as being able to sit on various parts of the ship, signal flares, fireworks. Then we got Spanish forts, and the ability to save cosmetics and further customize our ships. Overall, these updates, while for the most part are somewhat minor, are still fun additions to the game. Now, given how popular Pirate's Life content was, it's not surprising that Rare would want to put more effort into story-based directions for the game. That being said, the story updates thus far, which are referred to as adventures, have been pretty lackluster. Thus far, we've had two major content updates this year, which include the addition of sea forts and being able to save ship customizations. Ignoring how kind of useless saving cosmetics are in terms of core gameplay, what do the sea forts really add? Well, they function similarly to the skeleton forts that have been a part of the game since launch. They have a fun gimmick of various trapdoors and multiple different locations of hidden loot. The music is pretty fun, and that is pretty much it. Consider that the skeleton forts have very different layouts each time, and how there are multiple different kinds of skeletal enemies to fight, and how the bosses are different. Yeah, these sea forts are kind of lackluster. Now, while it is nice to have forts that can be challenged as many times as the player wants without having to wait for a world event to spawn, like with the skeleton forts, it is admittedly pretty nice. It does come at the expense of the gameplay being fresh and unique. If you've played one sea fort, you've played them all. They have the same layout, the same spots to dock your ship, the same bosses each and every time, and a pretty minuscule reward at the end. These are easy to take on as a solo player, but it still annoys me that all we got was a dumbed down, but admittedly more aesthetically pleasing version of the skeleton forts. And why did I bring all this up? Because that is all we got in terms of new content this year, outside of adventures. Yep, that's it. As of writing this video, Season 8 has not been released yet. I have absolutely no idea what is coming up next in the game, and to be quite frank, I don't expect much. Apparently it's going to be a PvP update, which is odd since they removed the PvP arena and turned the dedicated PvP faction into a key part of the story for the game. So unless all of a sudden they make the villains come back in full force, I do not see much coming out of this update. Again, as of right now, I have no idea if Team Flameheart or Team Pendragon is winning. And this brings me to my next point, community involvement. A while back, there was an adventure where players would effectively choose the fate of Golden Sands Outpost, a recently destroyed outpost that was beloved by many fans in a resource battle. On paper, this sounds really great. The idea of having the community decide the future of the game's world is a really neat concept. When you consider what happened, it all falls apart. Basically, the good guy faction, the Athenas and Hunters Call, won the day. The Reapers, which are considered the villains, lost. So Golden Sands was rebuilt, and not much else. It was a momentary setback for all parties involved. The good guys got their outpost back, and the bad guys lost nothing whatsoever. This is on the level of G1 Transformers. Megatron and the Decepticons would have some new evil plan, and the Autobots stopped them before taking any major losses on either side. How boring would Star Wars be if the story was just, oh, the Sith will return, and the Jedi stop them before anything major happens? Instead, we have the Jedi lose, go extinct, and have their most powerful warrior turn to darkness, and then the original trilogy is set in a world where the villains rule all, and the heroes are setting out to end their rule. Each of the two trilogies for Star Wars are either about the villains gaining some kind of major victory, or about the villains already having won in the past and the heroes have to battle to the end in order to free everybody from tyrannical rule. To put it simply, stories absolutely need stakes in order for anything to matter. Why would I ever bother watching a movie if there was no stakes for the characters? And I'm not even saying something insane has to happen like the end of a civilization for the main consequence, but something as small as a relationship being tested is more than enough to be considered as having stakes. If all we're seeing with Sea of Thieves is conflicts being resolved before they ever really happen, why bother? As of writing this video, I have no idea what the outcome of the Return of the Damned adventure is. Is Pendragon going to be trapped in the Sea of the Damned? Will Flameheart finally do something? Who's to say? But if the entire past year shows us anything, the story will stay the same with only minimal progression. The map will not change much, core gameplay will not be altered by these adventures, and ultimately this year's content will be a waste of time. Every year prior for the game has turned Sea of Thieves from a barren, open-world sandbox into a game brimming with content that feels like its own fleshed-out world. To have this year add minimal new changes from January to November of 2022 is very disappointing. Almost a full year in, and all that's changed with the gameplay is that there's some random sea forts that have the same layout and very simplistic gameplay, and ships now have names. That is literally it. Now let me be very clear here. None of what I said about this video is targeted towards any of the dev team at Rare. In fact, I have nothing but respect and admiration for their hard work in creating such a creative and exciting game, and for staying engaged in the community unlike many other game studios. I could tell they're trying as hard as they can to add good content with these adventures. However, the nature of how they work and a very quick turnaround time, it does limit what they can put out. I'm also not saying that they should give up on the concept, as it does have plenty of potential to really make the game special, but only if the developers are not afraid to radically change the game, and if players make choices for the story based on what is more engaging. I truly do hope these issues are corrected for, as I truly love Sea of Thieves. I truly do love the idea behind these adventures as well, but my issues lie entirely in execution, of which is easy to fix. Do I realistically see them being fixed? Not really. Do I hope they do? Absolutely. All I ask is that some new content gets made. Truly new content. And I ask that the community please make the right choices when you are given them. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this video. If you liked it, I'd greatly appreciate it if you liked the video and subscribed. And comment down below with your thoughts on these topics, as I would love to get a discussion going on this. Also, join my Discord server. And also follow me on Twitter. All links will be down below. Until next time, have a great day.